So I'm Farmer Nicole here at Circle C Farm, and I am actually out with the baby hens this morning. I came out to double check on them. We're going to be making an adjustment in their housing situation at the beginning of this week. We have successfully gotten past Hurricane Nicole, and so we are, and not to be confused with Farmer Nicole, even though both very intense and came through with a vengeance, I guess. So sometimes when I'm hitting the pasture and I've got my to-do list, I got things to do. But that being said, we did manage to survive Hurricane Nicole, and we secured our baby hens in the pasture in this particular field. So what I wanted to do was give you an idea of what we did with this particular building, which is in a separate part of the pasture or on the farm, excuse me, than another part of our buildings. So give me a second and I'm going to do a walk around and show you what we did for hurricane preparedness so that we would have them nice and secure and so that their building wouldn't go, because we have 2,000 layers in here, and these ladies, the dogs just walked up, they're just looking, and the hens are getting used to the dogs. But this particular group of layers will probably start laying, I'd say somewhere around February, maybe the end of January, but February is my target month for them to start laying. So with laying hens, you typically have 6 to 9 months prep time between the time they come to the farm as a baby chick and the time that they start laying eggs, depending upon the breed. Different breeds will give you longer times before they'll start to lay. Some of your specialty breeds, your color egg layers, your Easter eggers, those ones, they'll sometimes take 8 or 9 months. The production hens that we have here, that's typically about a 6-month wait time. So when you're planning and preparing your layers on your property, different from your meat chickens, you want to make sure that you have got at least a solid 6 months, or depending upon the breed, you adjust accordingly. But we do with a basic 6 months. Then we'll have some of the pullets at that point start laying the pullet eggs. And then from there, they'll start to lay bigger eggs. And when I mean the pullet eggs, I mean like those little bitty ones that come out that are a little bit bigger than the quail eggs. And so those are what we call training eggs here on the farm. You crack them, they're fine. They're just training eggs. So that's what we call them. So let me flip this around and let me give you a little bit more view of them and how we did the building here so that you have an idea of what's going on preparedness. And this kind of preparation could be done for a hurricane here in Florida. It could be done for a variety of different areas depending upon how you're set up and your wind loads. So our biggest concern with both with Hurricane Ian and Hurricane Nicole was the wind. In Hurricane Ian, these guys were still in the brooder. They hadn't made it out here to the pasture yet. And so I've got to look up here. And but for Hurricane Nicole, they did. And so we wanted to make sure that the building didn't fly, because obviously we didn't want to lose the time and the energy and the life from these laying hens, but also we wanted to make sure we didn't lose the building, even though we might have not had as much death rate because it wasn't as intense as a Cat 4. We still wanted to be as prepared as possible. So I'm going to show you a little trick that we did with this group, with this particular building, because we had them in this location in the pasture. So I'm going to step over one of the puppies, I'm going to shift around, and I'm going to give you a different view. All right, so we have on the front of this building, I'm going to back up, here we go, and give you a little bit better little distance view. Okay, so obviously I've got my livestock guardian dogs with me. I have 2 maremmas. They just spotted something behind me, so one of them got up. Anyway, so that's what they do. Half the time they see stuff, hear stuff, smell stuff that I would never know is even present. And that's what they're here for. So that's genetics, that's breeding, and that's what you want. Okay, so on this building, what we have is, you can see the posts on the left and the right side. In addition to the posts, so what we did is we anchored the building on all 4 corners. And in addition to the anchoring of the posts, we went ahead and took some really heavy duty roping, nylon roping that we have, and we secured all 4 corners of the building. We then went ahead and made sure that we had extra mesh around the front so that if anything blew, it wouldn't break it and penetrate the sides, because obviously we don't want anything to go in and hurt our baby hens. So, and they're a few months old now. And then here's along the side. So what I want to point out here is, even though we have, that's where the big laying hens are, all the way down there in that little area. We had with Hurricane Ian, we had 2 of those buildings, and not one, but we lost one whole set of laying hen houses to Hurricane Ian, and we had to push them together and make a modification, and then we grabbed one of the meat hen buildings. But we keep them in the same pasture, but we keep them in separate spaces for biosecurity, but also because of age. We really don't want the little hens around the big hens yet. It's not necessary, and we're trying to keep them in groups. It makes it a little easier for picking up eggs when we get to that point. So I'm going to bring you back, and watch, this is going to shift. All right, so let me bring you back to here. Okay, so what we did is we used the tractor, the bucket, and we put dirt mounded up against the base of this building. And we did that very specifically, methodically, and strategically because we wanted to make doggone sure that this building was not going to lift. We really didn't know what kind of intensity of wind we were going to have with Hurricane Nicole, so we wanted to be prepared and overly prepared. So this is what we did. So you can see, again, all 4 corners are anchored, and then we've got the nylon roping on there. We did really, really aggressive berming up against the back side of it, all the sides and the front side, to make doggone sure that it was not going anywhere. And so successfully that worked. No issues, no problems. We had some pretty substantial wind gusts. I would say 40, 60 mile an hour at one point, but then not nearly as intense as Hurricane Ian, which was over 120. But this gives you an idea of a good way, a possible way for securing your building in a field in case you have bad weather coming. So hope this helped. Farmer Nicole from Circle C Farm.